Welcome to the Hidden Why Podcast, episode 1116. I'm your host, Lee Martinuzzi, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Dr. Robert Glover, a renowned family and relationship psychologist and the author of the groundbreaking book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. For over 40 years, Robert has been helping men navigate the complexities of relationships, masculinity, and self-improvement. A very timely conversation for myself, and in this episode we explore the evolving landscape of modern masculinity, the challenges men face today, and the importance of building meaningful connections and taking responsibility for personal growth. Whether you're looking to better understand yourself or improve your relationships, this conversation is packed with insights to inspire and empower you. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get into the show. Hey Robert, welcome to the Hidden Why Podcast. Great to have you here today.
Lee, good to be here. Thanks for the invitation. You're early morning. I'm mid-afternoon.
Mid-afternoon. Yeah, the time zones are a killer, aren't they? Sometimes.
It makes life interesting.
I just travelled over there, and it was interesting because I could look at my watch now, and you can check out my time where I was and the Australian time where my family was. And it was about 3 hours ahead, but 3 hours in the future. On a different day.
A different day. Yeah, different day. That's the clincher right there, different day.
And that's how I calculated in my brain. But mate, pleasure to have you here. I'm really looking forward to discussing your work and particularly, relationships, I suppose, and men's health is where I'd like to dive. You've got a number of books out, which are all on Amazon. And for those listening, we'll stick links in the show notes. No More Mr. Nice Guy, A Proven Plan for Getting What You Want in Life. Love, Sex and Life. Was your first book, and then you've had a number of books after that. But you're a family and relationship psychologist expert, I would say. Is that correct?
Yeah. I got my doctorate in marriage and family therapy back in 1984, so maybe 40 years ago. Actually, no, my math's off. Yeah, something like that. 40 years ago, been doing marriage and I'm not a math major, but yeah, I'm a marriage and family therapy major.
And so you've been doing that for 40 years, right?
Probably spent about 25 years private practice doing marriage and family therapy, and really since No More Mr. Nice Guy came out almost 25 years ago. Pretty much all my work's been with men, still a lot of it around relationship, whether it be around dating, men trying to, find the relationships they want, men in relationship, whether they're having struggles or relationships just ended.
Yeah.
So a lot of my work really does focus on relationship and sexuality.
Yeah. It's a fascinating arena at the moment, I believe, with relationships and the whole global phenomenon that's sort of shifting everything at the moment. And I don't know if it stemmed off the back of COVID, but I think it's just been building up. And I certainly have felt and noticed and experienced myself and observing a lot of changes that have happened in that particular period of time. And since then, you've been doing this for 40 years. I want to ask you the first question is, what got you to write No More Mr. Nice Guy?
I didn't set out to write a book. I actually, what really got it going, I was about 2 years into my second marriage, 3 years into it. And my then wife said to me, everybody thinks you're a nice guy, but you're not. I can't trust you. You can be passive aggressive. I can't depend on you. You embarrass me in public. You let me down. You don't follow through. You need help. And she goes, I'm going to leave you if you don't get help. I go, oh, wait a minute. I'm the one that's always trying to make you happy. You're the one that's always unhappy. How come I need help? I thought, okay, I'll go get help. And actually, I went looking for help. She said, you're a sex addict. You need to go find a sex addict group. I go, okay, we never have sex. How can I be a sex addict? So I went trying to find answers why me being a nice guy didn't make my wife happy and didn't make her appreciate me and didn't make her want to have sex with me.
So you felt you were a nice guy?
Yeah, I would have told you that. I'm a nice guy. I'm one of the nice guys you meet. I do everything to make her happy. I try to please her. I'm not like my, selfish, narcissistic father. I'm not like all those asshole men women complain about that they only want one thing. I'm not that guy. And I'm generous. I'm patient. I'm kind. I don't like to fight. I was conflict avoidant. I thought that made me a good guy. But I wasn't honest. I wasn't dependable. I had hidden covert contracts, hidden agendas. I gave to get. I was manipulative. So luckily, I landed in some really good places, some good groups, some good therapy, where I started realizing my whole I'm a nice guy pattern, my whole paradigm for life. If I'm just a good guy, I'll be liked and loved and get my needs met, didn't serve me well. And it didn't actually make me a nice guy. And at that time, I was in therapy myself, in men's groups myself, really learning about my patterns, why they didn't serve me very well. And I was in private practice as a marriage and family therapist, and guys were coming to me for therapy. When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So all of a sudden, I saw nice guys everywhere. Guys would come to therapy with their wives or girlfriends saying, I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
I treat her better than her ex. I'm raising her kids. I buy her the new car she wants. I give her everything she wants. She's never happy. It's never good enough. When's it going to be my turn? How come she never wants to have sex anymore? She's always angry. And I thought, I'm not the only one who like thinks like this, and I'm not the only one with this problem. Now, there was other men coming to me, but because I was mainly a relationship-oriented guy, it took me a little bit to connect the dots
Dealing with
these
couples
other guys.
or predominantly dealing with
Mainly,
couples?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly.
Yeah.
I saw individuals as well. So I'd get some men who'd say, I'm a nice guy. I have lots of female friends. They all tell me I'm great. I'm amazing. I'm a good listener. And they all say, oh, some woman's going to be so lucky to have you someday. But the guys go, but they don't want to be my girlfriend. They think I'm amazing, but they don't. So I didn't put it together that, these were all the same thing. It was men thinking, if I'm nice, if I'm kind, if I'm different than other men, if I listen to women talk about their problems, if I'm giving, if I help them solve their problems, they'll love me. They'll want to be with me. They'll be grateful. They'll be appreciative. And so what I did with these men is I started a No More Mr. Nice Guy men's group. We met every other Wednesday, and then I soon added another one. And what I did, I didn't realize it at the time, but I had always written to kind of express myself. I never thought of myself as a writer, but I just started writing chapters. Nowadays, we'd probably call them blog articles. I just gave them chapters of what I was learning about nice guys, what I was learning about me, what I was seeing in the men I worked with. How did we get to be this way? Why didn't it work? What's a better way of interacting with the world? And I just kept giving these chapters to the guys when we'd meet every other Wednesday. And over time, they and often their wives and girlfriends said, Robert, you need to write a book. You need to go on Oprah. This could be a bestseller. A lot of people need this. So it took about 6-7 years to write it.
Wow. Yeah.
About 3 years of hustling it to finally get a publisher to get it published. It came out in print in early 2003.
Yep.
And now 20 plus years later, my royalty checks keep going up every year. So the book keeps selling more and more. I keep going on interviews and talking about it. So
still very relevant information.
I think more so even today than it was 25 years ago. I think it's more relevant.
Do you see a shift in men's health and their relationships in this world?
Everything seems to be shifting, as you kind of alluded to. As you said, COVID probably really put a lot of those things under a pressure cooker.
How do you see it from your perspective?
In terms of the shift or COVID or both?
Just what's changing in your views, because I guess I've got my own perspective of everything, right? So,
well, here's kind of the bigger things I would see. When I started working with nice guys, so like 30 years ago, a lot of the men I talked to reported one of two patterns with their father, for example. One was either their father was absent, either because divorced or worked all the time or just not there. The other pattern was dad was dangerous. He was alcoholic, angry, abusive, didn't feel safe with dad. That's the most common pattern I've heard 25 years ago. Nowadays, especially with younger men that we might call millennials or Generation Z. My son is 39, so he'd be a millennial. What I hear from a lot of the young men is, my dad was a nice guy. And really all that their dads taught them was, don't piss off your mother. Because that's what dad was trying to avoid doing as well, is pissing off, their mother, his wife. So what's shifted is there's a lot more nice guys out there, kind of turning out nice guy sons. A couple other big shifts. One would be kind of that where feminism has taken hold in a couple of different ways. One with kind of like the hashtag Me Too movement that was really big in America. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was quite so big in
Yeah.
Europe or some other countries. America was a big deal. And then followed that with the toxic masculinity meme and everything about patriarchy's evil, to where now young men growing up, and throw social media in that,
Yeah.
where young men growing up basically have been told everything about being male is bad. And if and so they've repressed more and more of their masculinity. They don't even know what it means to be male. Dad taught them don't piss off your mom. Social media's taught them don't piss off women. Hashtag Me Too taught them don't piss off women. So a lot of guys are just walking around trying to not do anything to upset a woman, whether it be at school, the workplace, relationship, if they have one, which is the other big shift, is more and more men don't have relationships.
Yeah.
And more and more men don't have jobs and don't even have much of a future because of just some major shifts culturally, in terms of men being less prepared, getting fewer advanced degrees, governmental decrees that corporations have to hire more women, more minorities, things like that, to where more and more men not only don't have a future, don't have a job, or if they do have a job, is perhaps menial, and they don't feel they have enough status to get a woman at all, or the kind of woman they want. So statistically, more and more men report not having had sex in the last year, not that more and more report not being in a relationship for multiple years. The age of first marriage is going up. More and more men aren't marrying at all, which means more and more women aren't marrying at all. As the women's status and income rises, they tend to want men that match their status and income, but they don't tend to want that until they're pushing 40 or in their 40s. And now it's time for me to make babies. And now all of a sudden they go looking for a guy, and all they can find is either the men that have kind of been washed out of the system and kind of given up, or the men that have a high enough status that they don't want the 40-year-old woman that's all of a sudden ready to have babies.
Yeah. Right.
They
Well
can
explained.
they can go get all the 25-year-olds that they want.
Yeah.
So all of this, there's so many shifts going on, and I'm not trying. I really avoid playing any kind of victim role that, oh, poor men or poor this. But what's happened is a lot less men are in relationship, a lot more men are depressed, a lot more men are committing suicide, a lot more men are living alone with no hope of ever having a relationship. More and more men just turn to pornography, sex workers to try to get some sort of sexual access. It is it's sad. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot
I
of
was
stuff
just
going
about to
on
say that
that's
same
really
word.
challenging for men.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I see that locally here in Australia, men without relationships, without sex, avoiding women because we sort of, and I'm in this group, right? So we sort of don't know what to do, how to approach a woman because, we feel like we might be approaching them and considered a pervert or, whatever it might be. And women on the same hand, I don't know, they've gone through a big shift as well. And their approach to men has seemed to have shifted, but particularly men and their purpose in life because of this relationship dynamics have changing. I see it, and that's why, men's suicide rates are quite high. And that's a big issue. And I think it comes down to dealing with men's health and this particular topic.
And that's, I've been working with men, for many years, and for the last 20 plus years, that's been my entire gig, is just working with men, whether it be through a men's membership program that I launched a year or so ago, workshops and retreats for men, writing for men, classes for men. Number one, I just love working with men.
Yeah.
And I just love seeing it when the light bulb goes off in a guy's head. He gets it. He understands why something hasn't been working. He's ready to put it into action, ready to put it into place. He sees results from changing either his paradigms, his roadmap, or his behaviors. And I just love that dynamic of working with men. And I don't know that I saw this kind of state that we're in now coming, that men were going to be so isolated, so lonely, so resentful, so frustrated, so angry, so helpless. it makes sense that I don't know that I saw like hashtag Me Too or the whole social media thing where men, can have the illusion of having connection, but really they're in isolation. Or if they do something in relationship that either a casual person they're with or a partner, all of a sudden now it's going to, blow them up on social media.
Yeah.
And I have friends, they break up with their girlfriends and their girlfriends just blow it up on social media and just, air all the dirty laundry out there to the world. So I think, there's good reason for men to be cautious. One guy interviewing me, a young guy who mainly works like with very young men. And this guy's, he grew up with the internet. He's probably 20 years old doing the interview with me. And he said, what suggestion would you give to a guy who's 18, likes a girl, wants to, pursue something with her, has the impulse to ask her out, take her hand, try to kiss her, put his arm around her, the things that a guy has to do to actually get a relationship moving forward. And to know that anything he does, the woman might just blow that up on social media. Might say, he violated me, he abused me, he raped me, or he was clumsy and he's got a small dick. What would you tell men? I go, fuck if I know. I don't know what I would do in that situation. But that's the real world that especially younger men who live and breathe, on social media are dealing with, that everything they do, even if it's well-meaning or clumsy, it's going to get put in the spotlight for the world to see. And there's no recourse of even like defending yourself or saying, that's not what happened, or that's not what I meant. And so was my suggestion to men in that case, either get off social media and don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks, which I'm not on social media, so I don't give a fuck. Or, hide out and keep looking at a lot of pornography. That seems to be about the only other alternative.
The two options.
Which of course isn't, a very, actually it probably is a pretty intriguing option for a lot of men nowadays. But, the thing is, we're at our best when we have relationship. I'm not saying we have to be in a long-term monogamous relationship, but when we're connected as human beings, connected to other men, connected to women, have sexual access, we feel the best. We're the most productive. We're the most optimistic. It brings out the best in us. So when those options don't seem open to a man, it brings out the worst in him. And you can see that. You can see it on the internet. You can see it in men's behavior, in general. You can see it in, white supremacy. You can see it in, nationalism. You can see it, in hate crimes. You can see it in all kinds of ways.
Well,
when men don't feel connected and don't feel like they have opportunity and sexual access.
The evolutionary dynamics have really, impacted this whole men's health issue, because you're right. I think we needed to have that female relationship in place to be our best selves. And I don't know the evolutionary history of it all, but from what I can see is that without a spouse or a relationship with a partner, female partner, and that sexual partner as well, again, I don't mean to put it out there that men need sex every single day, but it seems to be a very big requirement.
Sexual access. Yeah, we need some sense of predictability of sexual access. That's just built into us. All animals are that way. Every animal, repeats itself. Creates after its own kind. And I joke with my religious friends, because I have 2 degrees in religion. I was a minister for about 8 years. I'll ask them. I said, "What was the first commandment God gave to Adam and Eve?" And most people think, well, it was like, don't eat of the fruit of good and evil. I go, actually, it was go fuck a lot. And people look at me like, what are you talking about? The first commandment that God in the Bible gave to Adam and Eve was be fruitful and multiply. Go have sex is what he said. It's wired into us, whether we see that from an evolutionary point of view, religious point of view, we're wired to have sex. And when human beings don't have a predictable channel and accessibility to sex, that's still going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
That's still just such a strong drive.
Mm.
So it's going to get manifest, usually in hidden, secretive, shameful, guilt-inducing ways, rather than in loving, celebratory
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
ways. And again, I don't like to play victim or blame anybody, and I don't really blame anybody. It really is some cultural dynamics. But for me, I actually am optimistic. I think we've seen some pendulum swings. Like, for example, for the last 10,000 years under what's commonly called the patriarchy, where where had monogamous marriage and where men were kind of had this ownership mentality of things and their wife and their wife's vagina and their kids. We've swung from this kind of patriarchal model way over to the other extreme that everything about patriarchy is bad, everything about men is bad. And the whole toxic masculinity, hashtag me too, all of that. And people I think, well, we'll swing back and find some middle ground. But I've always said I don't know where the tipping point is between two toxic extremes.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're actually going to swing back and find a middle ground. That would just be, well, let's just keep some of this that sucks and keep some of this that sucks, and maybe we'll have something that doesn't suck as bad.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I think we have to rise up and find something above, which I think that's what's happening.
Right.
I see so many more movements and coaches and podcasts about men and women becoming their best selves, becoming more conscious, becoming more open-hearted, becoming more authentic, more expressive in healthy ways, taking accountability for their actions in their lives, asking for what they want, putting themselves in a position to get what they want. I see a really amazing shift happening right now. It's not like I see it going to happen in 5 or 10 years. It's happening now. Just the fact I get invited to speak on so many, self-improvement type interview podcasts says that we're interested in leveling up to our best
How do you
selves
feel
and
that-
having our best lives.
How do you feel that women are feeling? Because that's a point of view that I can't really talk on, but other than from a men's perspective, like I feel like that they're pushing men away and almost hating men, right? That's kind of the feeling, the vibe I get. And like, we don't need men in our lives, and we're happy with that, even though I think that in their lives, it's a big, important part as well, just as much as men having a female in their life.
And again, since I'm not a woman, I will speak very cautiously about what women might be experiencing. When I was growing up, I'm 68, going on 69. So I grew up during the 60s and 70s, kind of, the whole, revolution going on. I was the tail end of it. We're probably it's called second wave feminism. It was an angry feminism. Every man's a rapist. An erection's a sign of aggression. The best, best man for a job is a woman. Where there's a lot of anger towards men built into feminism. And I grew up thinking I was kind of a feminist because I thought, well, yeah, I mean, my mother was probably a first wave feminist, and that she taught me, to be different from my father and be kind and caring to women, and taught her daughters to be independent and not need a man. And, years later, when I talk to women who say, well, I'm a feminist, and I go, well, do you hate men? She goes, no, actually, I don't hate men at all. Why do you think that? I go, because all the feminism I heard growing up was a lot of hatred towards men. And she goes, oh, that was just a few angry, pissed off, really vocal people, but not every feminist was pissed off at men. We just, said we need change. I agree with that. We needed change.
Yeah.
So what I came to find out is just because there's some loud voices doesn't mean that represents everybody.
Yeah.
And I think now we've gone through another angry phase of feminism where everything's toxic masculine, everything about men is evil. These men are the cause of all problems in the world. Patriarchy is the cause of all problems. And I think we're still hearing from the angry fringe of feminism or woke movement, whatever you want to call it. And I think what's easy to happen because these voices now sound so ubiquitous or everywhere because of social media, because of these voices now have platform in mainstream media. I think, it's easy to think, well, all women hate men and think men are evil. And I don't actually think that's the case. Now, Have most women had painful experiences in regard to men? Yeah, probably. Probably began with dad, when dad let them down, hurt them in some way, abandoned them in some way.
Yep.
Did they get hurt when their first boyfriend, you know, said he loved them and then had sex with her and she never heard from him again? Yeah, that probably got hurt in that way. Have they maybe been abused by men? Probably any number of them have. Now, we could also go down the same checklist of men talking about, have you had a woman do this to you, a woman do that? And because I did a presentation at a retreat back in June where I had everybody raise their hand. It was men and women at this. It was probably 150 people. Have you ever been lied to? Have you ever been cheated on? Have you ever been accused of things you haven't done? Have you ever been hurt? Have you ever been abandoned? Ever been left?
Yeah.
And, to each question, everybody raised their hand, men and women. And then I asked everybody, have you ever cheated on anybody? Have you ever lied to anybody? Have you ever accused them of something they didn't do? Have you ever left them? Have you ever ghosted them? And everybody raised their hand. So I said, we're all clumsy lovers. We're all terrible at this thing of how do you do relationships with the opposite sex. And because we're so clumsy at it, we all get bumps and bruises and hurts and wounds and trauma, right? We all do. Now, we can either react to that by closing off or lashing out, or, as I know this might get me in trouble, turning to same-sex relationships instead of the opposite sex. And I think that happens both with men and women. Mm-hmm. Men saying, I'm done with women, or women going, I don't need a guy, I can get more love from a girl. Amazing, great, wonderful, it's an option. But I don't think all men hate women, and I don't think all women hate men. Have we all been hurt? And then do we then project our hurts onto that gender as a whole? Yeah, we probably all do. Mm-hmm. Men got hurt by a woman or two, and now all women are representative of those 2 or 3 women that hurt us.
Yeah.
Women, same way. Been hurt by a few men. Now, do all men become a stand-in for those few men?
And that's just
probably so.
Escalated, right? And with social media, certainly not helping.
We can just blow it up. I love it. I'm a trained therapist, and I'm not a diagnostician, but I've seen a lot of stuff as a therapist, right? What amazes me nowadays is almost everybody on the internet that breaks up. If it's a woman, their ex is usually a sociopath or a narcissist. If it's a man, the woman is either a borderline personality or a narcissist. And I'm going, are there really that many borderlines, narcissists, and sociopaths out there? And they're all dating, and they're all, with people on social media. Everybody's an amateur diagnostician now. And you know what? As a therapist for 40 years, I probably have met maybe 2 or 3 true narcissists in my therapy practice.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, everybody that breaks up with their ex, they're a narcissist. No, probably we're all just clumsy lovers. We're all not very good at this. We're all have our guards up. We're all trying to protect ourselves. We're all crappy communicators. And we're all trying to do something that doesn't come easy. That is, 2 people of the opposite sex trying to come together and have a relationship with probably 2 very different agendas for being together, probably some overlap, but a lot of divergence as well, and thinking we should be able to live in close proximity, get along well, always have sexual passion, always feel loving towards each other, never get on each other's nerves, never get tired of each other, never notice anyone out there that actually looks kind of better, either on social media or just walking down the street or through a mall. Yeah. We think all this should work. And the truth of it is, it's difficult, it's challenging. We're not built for it. But yet the expectation is we should just easily find somebody, fall in love, and stay in love for the rest of our lives. That's a mythology that never has existed, never will, but we think we should be able to do that. And when it doesn't work out, well, it's either got to be my fault or it's their fault. And I don't like walking around thinking it's my fault all the time, so it must be their fault.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so we got a whole world of people walking around. It's their fault that, this didn't work out. While deeply inside thinking, well, maybe it was me. Maybe I'm not good looking enough. Maybe I'm not sexy enough. Maybe I'm not good enough in bed. Maybe I'm too boring. Maybe I'm not interesting enough. And so then we're either kind of dwelling on why I wasn't good enough to make it work, or why all those other people of that gender are the problem. And luckily, I'm an optimist, and I really do think we're on our way through that.
Yeah, okay.
But it is still pretty messy.
It's a
right
journey.
now.
So what, I'm just conscious of time, but to give a few tips and advice for men out there, what can we do to better improve our situation and particularly everyone's situation, but the relationships we're in?
My number one answer is go connect with men.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a no-brainer. Now, it's not the first thing that comes to men's mind because we think, well, I want connection. That must mean I need a woman because I do want to have sex. So we go seeking for women's approval, or we don't because we don't know how to get it, so we don't connect with anybody.
Yeah.
And social media is just, it's like junk food. It's not really real connection, like junk food isn't real food. So, our ancestors, our human ancestors, for 1.5 million years, our great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers, in tribal times, the men connected with men. The men went out and hunted and gathered and fought wars against other men.
Makes sense.
The women huddled and raised the babies and waited for the guys to come back. I'm not saying we need to go back to caveman roles.
Yeah.
I'm just saying 1.5 million years of evolution wired women to connect with women, men to connect with men, and just come together for shortest amount of time to connect, copulate, and move on. And then about 10,000 years ago, we started trying to do this thing where one man, one woman would go shack up in the same house and try not to kill each other. But for, most of that 10,000 years, people got together and stayed together purely out of economic need.
Yeah.
Love didn't even come along till about 200 years ago. And Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet to show the fallacy of relationship built on romantic love. Oh, we love each other so much, let's kill ourselves.
Yeah.
That was the message of Romeo and Juliet. So what's the first and most basic answer? Get connected with men.
Yeah.
That's why I have a men's program, why I lead. I have a workshop coming up starting tomorrow in my home with 8 guys. I've been leading men's groups for years. When I was in private practice, I did 5 men's groups a week. When men go connect with men, we get our most basic needs met. We get our bucket filled. We get affirmed. We get valued. We get loved on. We can be honest with each other. We can be real with each other because we're not doing what I call maintaining the possibility of availability. Like with men, we're not thinking about having sex with them, so we don't care if we piss them off or if they're pissed off with us. If we get the foundation built with men, we're full, we're filled, and from that overflow, we can attract women into our life who are drawn to this man who doesn't need them, who's confident, who's full, who's going places, who he knows where he's going. He's comfortable in his own skin. Why? Because he's connected and supported and held accountable by other men.
Yeah.
And that's really attractive to the feminine. We don't have to chase women when we're connected with men. We got everything we need. A woman's the icing on the cake, and the woman senses that and wants to be the icing on that cake.
Right. Makes sense. Connection is a big issue, right?
Is the issue.
Yeah.
It is the issue.
It is the issue. And okay, so that's connection. What else can we do?
I tell men, as adults, we are responsible for getting our needs met. And when we were dependent, needy little children, that was mom and dad's job. That's done. But what happens is because no one taught us how to get our needs met, make our needs a priority, surround ourselves with people, professionals, practices to help fill our bucket and get our needs met.
Yeah.
A lot of adults, not just men, grow up. Women actually usually are better at this. But most men have no clue of how to make their needs a priority.
Yeah.
I'll talk with men about getting their needs met, and they'll look at me like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what my needs are. And really, literally, they'll just like stare at me like, I have no clue what you're even talking about. And so that is essential. Again, it goes back to getting our bucket filled. I exercise to meet my needs. I eat healthy. I get enough sleep. I spend time with friends. I'm involved in work that I love. I take my dog for a walk every morning with my wife, and we enjoy doing that. I visit with my family. I stay connected to men. I do meditation. I read for pleasure. I write in my journal. I spend time in nature. I float in my pool. All of these things help fill my needs up to, again, make me happy and make me optimistic about this world and my life. And it makes me attractive. It makes me attractive to my wife. It makes me attractive to other women because my jealous Latina wife always points out other women that are flirting with me, usually women that are much younger than me. Why? Because I don't need them. I'm full. I've taken responsibility for getting my needs met, filling my bucket, and surrounding myself with people, practices, groups who all want to help me get my needs met. Now, some people I pay, like my dentist, my doctor, my chiropractor, my accountant, my attorneys, my employees, I pay them to help me get my needs met.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, we just enjoy hanging out with each other. I probably got 25 to 50 guy friends that any given time, we're connecting, we're online. I'm going to have half a dozen guys come to my house in December to come to have a writer's retreat with me. I go visit my friends. They come here and visit me. I do workshops. I go to workshops. I'm around men that I love. And again, both so that two things, connect with men, make your needs a priority, and take full responsibility for getting those needs met on a regular basis.
Good advice. I'm going to direct people to the book there, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and the recent one too, which was co-authored with Tony Endelman.
Yeah, The Big Stick.
The Big Stick.
And he's in New Orleans. You were just in New Orleans. He's a New Orleans guy.
There you go. Mate, pleasure speaking with you today. Appreciate your time coming on the show.
Thanks for the invitation. This was great fun.
How can people best reach you?
Either at drglover.com, drglover.com, or integrationnation.net, which is my men's program. Integration Nation.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll check that out as well, and I'll stick the links in the show notes, guys, so check it out at thehiddenwhy.com. And until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. I hope you love what you're hearing. If you like this episode, guys, or any of the episodes that you're listening to here at The Hidden Why, please do me a favor by sharing it. You can share it with your families. You can share it with your loved ones. You can do that by using your favorite social media channels, using the icons on the platform that you're listening to The Hidden Why podcast. Also, guys, if you're a fan of the show, please connect with me. Connect with me at thehiddenwhy.com. I love to hear from you. I love to converse with the people that listen to this show to find out what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and perhaps if they have any questions or feedback for the show as well. You can stay up to date with all that I'm releasing here, guys. I do a solo show every Monday, a 3-minute thought every Thursday. I do 2 interviews a week on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and a book review every Friday. You can stay up to date with all that by subscribing to my newsletter at thehiddenwhy.com. Just enter your email address there, and also subscribing to the podcast on the platform that you choose to listen to your podcasts. You can also support the show, guys, by using the Amazon links at thehiddenwhy.com. So if you like books, you can get all the books that I review there, and anything else really that you like to purchase through Amazon. So use that link and help support the show. And we've also got a deal with Audible, guys. Audible is a fantastic way to listen to all your favorite books. We've got a deal with them so you can get 2 free books when you subscribe, or subscribe to a 30-day free trial. So check that out again at thehiddenwhy.com. Guys, that's it from me. You know what to do. Go out there, breathe more passion into every single moment. Do everything with greater purpose, and in doing so you will discover your hidden why. This is The Hidden Why. My name's Lee Martinuzzi. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.